I think we've played two of the best teams in the league these last 2 weeks. People can't forget that. We've played two of the best teams these last 2 weeks. This week, we went toe-to-toe with the defending conference champion, and there's
I would ask how you're doing, but I know, man. Tough loss.
These games are tough on the old ticker, that's for sure. But I guess if I was going to sum it up in one sentence, I can't be mad at that. Can't be mad at that.
Yeah, you can't be mad at it, and at the same time, it just brings back that feeling of like when you were a little kid and you just lose a heartbreaker and you just want to sit there and cry. It's just that feeling
Instead, you
just
got to get on and do a podcast.
that feeling just never goes away, man. It's just it just breaks you down, man. What a tough way to lose that game. Oh my God. And I mean, Sirianni is just such a dork, and he just totally deserved to lose the way he coached the end of that game. And to be as close as we were with the Terry catch and Robinson not getting much on that first down in overtime, and just, oh, man,
Well, I think
it's just tough.
before I get into any complaining about stuff, I think at the end of the day, to me, I sum it up this way. It took overtime, a very close call. I don't know how they call that catch out of bounds. I don't. In live play, I don't get it. I don't know why they forced a review in a situation like that. How can you actually see that he's out? I don't get it. We can get back to that later. And a 54-yard field goal by them to win.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we fought, we battled. Most of us thought it wasn't going to be close after that Bills game. No moral victories here. Still disappointing to lose that game. But, the way we saw Sam bounce back and ball out wasn't perfect. Still don't like the number of sacks were taken. But still, I don't think they were necessarily bad plays like they were before. EB, we were worried. Can he adjust? He sure as hell did. Went to that quick pass game, made the young man successful. So for me, it took overtime, an incredibly close call against Terry McLaurin, and a 54-yard kick to beat us.
Yeah.
That's as close to a tie game as you're going to get in the NFL without it actually being a tie.
And we've been there.
I can't be mad.
We've done one tie game on this podcast already.
I can't be mad at it. And a lot of things, obviously, again, to be encouraged about. Some things to be disappointed about. But we'll get into that.
Sure. I mean, we can do the moral victory thing. I definitely think if there ever was one, this is about as close as it gets. But yeah, it's just it's hard to separate my emotions from the situation and come on here and give you guys
it is.
a
But
good
that's what's
analysis,
cool. That's what's cool about it.
It's a really tough loss there, and just in general, like you really hate to see the guys fight so hard. I mean, no timeouts, less than a minute left.
Incredible.
Score a touchdown.
I mean, third and what was it? 3rd and 17, and we get it to 4th and 2 on a heck of 3rd and 22. Yeah, okay, even better. And we get it to 4th and 2, and we just complete play after play, and then right there at the end when we get that incompletion to Samuel, you're thinking game over, and then you look up the clock. There's 1 second left. We got another shot. And then whatever play they ran to Dotson to get him that open and, complete that pass was terrific. And I tell you, like maybe put some – I just – that last drive was amazing to tie that game. It was absolutely amazing. Do you think Ron should have gone for 2?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, that's such a armchair analyst. Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
It's such a just like you tweet it, and you get some interactions, and it's a slam dunk. Because if we win the
Twitter's a
game,
dumpster.
we won already, right? And if you lose the game, then it's, oh, well, if they went for two, they could have won it. Shut up. These guys,
Yeah,
have you ever ran 100 yards down a field and then had to have the most important play of the game right after that? The guys were gassed. There was nothing
but the
left in the
thing
tank.
is,
You can't go for
do
two there.
bet.
It's ridiculous.
I'm going to give a little bit of old man perspective here for anyone who's watching, and you're hiding behind your Twitter keyboard and you're playing the tough guy routine. Be better. Be better than that. I saw a couple of Commanders fans, and one of which I really like his approach on Twitter. The other guy's calling him stupid and a dummy because
Yeah.
he's defending Emmanuel Forbes for being a rookie. How many of you jackasses, I'll say it, wanted to run Sam Howell out of town this week? And now you want to run Emmanuel Forbes out of town because he covered one of the best wide receivers, if not the best in the league. And a guy made great play after great play after great play against. Wasn't like he was wide open most of the time. And you're going to say this kid sucks? You suck.
Love it. Love that for Pop. Love the fire there. I think
Please.
that brought me back into pod mode. I think he
That's
put
why I could
something in
care
his
less.
face there.
When people make
That's
negative
great.
comments about us or on Twitter, I could tell you something. I could care less. I could care less.
There it is.
It means nothing to me. It means nothing. Now, the constructive thing, like, one of our frequent commenters talked about, the sound needing to be a little bit better. I love that stuff. Like, bring it. And you could disagree with us all you want, but you start getting digs in and taking it to that level, forget you. I don't care. I could care less. I don't think you'd do it. You'd say it to my face. I just put it that way.
I love that, Pop. And I think,
anyway, sorry about that.
You can take
a little emotional still.
Still a little fired up. I like that. The commenters catching strays here, 6 minutes and 50 seconds into the pod.
Well, it wasn't to me or wasn't to us. Our fans have been pretty good, and we're still a small time kind of building here. But just to see some of the ugliness, fan to fan, and then you bring name calling out. Like, why are you name calling behind your keyboard in your basement? That's just ridiculous.
It's weak. It's weak for sure. But I think in general, man, it's just tough. Forbes did not have a great game. And like you said, he went against one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's a top 5 guy, in my opinion. And in terms of matchups and how hard he is to cover, there's not a guy that has that kind of size and that kind of speed as a combination. And he's also just a technician as a route runner. A.J. Brown he's the complete package as a wide receiver. Not to say that 9 for 175 and 2 touchdowns is at all acceptable from the defense. And that's where I think, if you're ready here, we can pivot a little bit.
Let's do it.
Talk about some of the concerns I have coming out of that game. The defensive performance was akin to what Pop's been complaining about all year, frankly. There were flashes, there were big moments, and in general, the game ends and you let up 31 points. You can't do that.
311 yards passing, 104 rushing. It's just not good enough from the defense.
You can't do that.
I'm not gonna rant. It hasn't been good enough for 4 games. They haven't really played well.
You're not going to win a lot of football games. You can look back at the game against Arizona, and you can look back at the crucial drive that the defensive line put up. You can look back at the way they clamped down against Denver. They have the ability to do it, but at the end of the day, we're not batting down Hail Marys. We're getting beat on double moves. We're not helping over the top. For all the celebrating we want to do about this young safety group, they don't take the ball away. How many times is Hurts just floating it 20 yards past guys? And there's not – I saw one play, Derek Forrest just completely out to lunch, and the ball is just floating over Devontae Smith's head. You figure Hufunga's coming down with that ball. Darius Slay's coming down with that ball. Other guys around the league that are great in the NFC playing over the top, they're coming down with that ball. Where are we? I have issues with that. I have issues with the scheme, real issues with the scheme. I'm talking to one of my buddies, and I'm saying, why is Chase Young in coverage? Oh, He's spying the quarterback. Chase Young, that's the guy that we're going to have spy the quarterback? The guy that we drafted number 2 overall over Tua, over Justin Herbert, the dynamic pass rusher that is supposed to change the game of football in the edge position coming out of college, the guy that all year we've been hyping up about when Chase can get to the quarterback, he's going to change the game. And he showed several times this game the way he can change the game when you let him pin his ears back and go loose at the quarterback. That's the guy we picked to be our QB spy. And I'll tell you why that's the guy that we picked to be our QB spy. Because we have Cody Barton at linebacker. He's useless. We'd be better off playing with 10 guys. Just completely useless there. I think in general, the defensive scheming and play calling has been very frustrating for me. I texted you. I think what happens, and you heard, there was a clip. You go back to week 1. There was a clip of Jonathan Allen saying to Daron Payne when they took that drive over. What did he say? This is crazy down memory here. He said to him, "When do we play our best?" And Daron said, "Well, we do our thing." And he said, "That's right." And he dapped them up, and they went out there and they balled the next drive. There is an issue. There is a serious issue. Guys aren't staying home on the rushes. They're not disciplined in terms of the mobile quarterbacks and handling them. Pop, you've mentioned a couple times us being good against mobile quarterbacks. I trust that you have the research on that. I haven't seen it, frankly.
We've played Hurts. We've played Hurts pretty well in terms of just not letting them play those legs. But here's my problem. You can complain about coaching, and I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. But the elite part of this defense is supposed to be the defensive line. And at some point, they just disappear. You don't see them make plays. We have flashes. Chase had a nice sack. Allen had one. But, I said at a certain point they were like ghosts out there.
Yep.
And it's just, if you're supposed to be elite, if you're supposed to be game changers, if you're supposed to be in contract years going after everything, you can't just disappear. I don't want to pick on any one guy, but there's some of those guys. I mean, I can't remember Sweat and Payne barely getting their name called today.
Sweat.
Maybe I'm wrong.
A couple pressures. Sweat was in witness protection program. I didn't see him once.
And then so it's like, if you're supposed to be special, then, and I get it. Look, this is a great Eagles team.
And a great offensive line. The best offensive line in the NFL.
It's a great team, but my issue is that our defense is supposed to be better than average.
Yeah. And
right now they've been average. The first few games, we're kind of saying things the same like we did a couple of years ago, where and then you can't even go there. We said it last week. This week the offense put up 31 points. Time of possession, we won time of possession. Right today.
Yeah.
So you can't even go there and say, well, you're not getting enough help from the offense. And again, it's a great Eagles team. Again, I think, it's game of inches, whatever the cliche says. At the overall, I can't be mad at it. We just lost. I mean, let's talk about some positives, right? I mean, Sam Howell, 29 for 41, 280 yards, right? 90 yards. Just incredible, game-tying drive.
Yeah, I mean, that's 70+% completion. Really
and
good.
A beautiful ball to Terry in overtime, right? I mean, beautiful ball. To me, it's a catch. Sorry.
Now,
I know I'm a homer. It's a catch.
I'm not going to argue with you there. The play was what it was. Unfortunately, a saying that I've thrown around a lot on this channel, and I've gotten from actual other NFL players and their podcasts, is you put the game in the ref's hands at the end of the day. And we played close. But
can I say just something real quick? I don't want to spend a ton of time on this.
Go ahead.
How do you call that out of bounds? Did you see him step out of bounds? How could a ref possibly see him step out of bounds in that moment?
That's tight. I don't.
You got to, in a situation like that, he didn't see him step out of bounds. So how do you call that out of bounds? I'm just asking. I'm asking.
That play.
I get how you can't reverse it. I get that. All right. I don't understand how that play was called out of bounds.
Yeah,
Somebody explain it to me.
I'm telling you, I think if you get 100 refs to call that, I think you get 50 calling them in and 50 calling it out. I think that's just it's as close as it gets.
I think it's more like 80-20.
Okay, that's your opinion.
I didn't see him step out. Nobody saw him step out in that situation. You couldn't have. You physically couldn't have.
You didn't get the bounces you wanted. At the end of the day, there were a lot of things we had in our control that we didn't do well. I'd personally rather focus on that.
I like to give equal time to things we did do really well.
Sure.
And I think if I have to say something, I'm going to confess something, right? Before the game started, I didn't have a lot of confidence in this team being able to do what they did today, right? But all I said to myself was, please let Sam have a good game. That was, to me, the most important thing to get out of this. And what we saw from Sam and what we saw from EB, against arguably that, we heard it all day about the defensive line. And they got of the Eagles, and they got 5 sacks, but we put up 31 against that defense.
Yeah.
Right? We got a game tying drive at the end against all the odds. So, what EB did and what Sam did, there's still a few things to clean up. You can't complain about it. And I prefer to, I think we spent time on defense. I think we got to highlight and accentuate some of those positives too.
Sure. And I think overall, it's just one of those games where it's the NFL. You're not going to get every bounce. And you look back to the game against Philly last year, we got just about every bounce in the game against Philly at home. So it comes back around. You don't always get the bounces that you want. Things are tight. It is what it is. It's not something, in my opinion, that's worth spending a lot of time on that front. Defensively, there were details that we missed on. You look at Cody Barton's adjusting his helmet while the ball's rolling down the field. I mean, just that's the kind of stuff, man. That's the kind of stuff that if you want to be San Francisco, you want to be Dallas, you want to be Philly, you want to be these defenses that people talk about as elite and that people spend all week trying to figure out, you can't be doing that. They don't do that. You're not on the field if you're doing that. So that's a top-down problem for me. We'll talk a little bit more about the defensive play calling later. Offensively, though, like you said, a lot of good stuff. I mean, EB really, he is committed to throwing that ball. That ball is going to be thrown, but at least we saw this week, we saw better balance. We saw more runs. I still don't necessarily think every situation was perfect, but I think we saw a real growth from last week and a real recognizing and willingness to admit one's mistakes and change the game plan. And for me, that's all I needed to see. I'm very happy about that. The short pass game was working really nicely. The short pass game was working great. I still think in general, though, the first chance EB gets to stop running the football, he jumps at. And I do want to see on 2nd and 10, run the ball every once in a while. On 2nd and 6, run the ball. I did like seeing 2nd and 2, we run the ball, get the first down, because that's what Philly was doing. If you watch that game, that's what Philly was doing, and that's how they consistently kept themselves in a position where it was harder for our defense to make plays. It was a lot of 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 4th and 1. They were staying ahead of the sticks, and consistently they know they're so good and efficient in those short yardage situations. When it's 2nd and 12, they're not thinking about 12 yards. They're thinking about 8 yards. They're thinking about 6 yards. That's
yeah, but I think at the end of the day, it's a pass-first offense. It's what EB wants to run.
It just is what it is. I guess we got to.
And you put up 31 points. And, the thing is, we did focus on Sam getting the ball out of his hands. I think I had to go back and watch it. I still don't like 5 sacks. I mean, that's still record-breaking pace. But I think that they weren't bad sacks like they've been in the past. And in some cases, honestly, there were no turnovers. It was a clean game from that perspective. I think it was one close call, near
in the end zone.
I would say that one on our second touchdown drive, that should have been a run call. Like that should have definitely been a run call. And obviously, we got a little lucky, and then the fumble recovery in the end zone was lucky. But we put ourselves in that position. It was a great drive to get there.
Yeah,
I'm not going to spend any time complaining about the offense.
that's fair. I got one more.
After
I
that
got
game.
one more complaint that does end up influencing the outcome. I did not love the goal line play calling when we had the ball right before the Eagles made their 2-minute drill and went down and got three. First of all, you can't give up points there in that situation. I mean, at one point it's like 4th and 1 with like 40 seconds left on the clock, and they're on their own 30. How does that turn into 3 points? Defensively, that's terrible. Second of all, you get beat over the top by Devonta Smith. You know that's where they're going. That's the guy in those situations. Can't let that happen. If Forbes makes a great play, where's the safety help over the top? Second qualm I have from that is the play calling in that 2-minute drill situation when we have the ball down on their goal line. You got to run the ball 3 times, and it's got to be up the middle. You got to take as much time off the clock for the opponent as possible there. We go to the pass on first down, incomplete, outside handoff, outside pitch to Gibson, to the guy with fumbling problems, goes out of bounds. Don't love that. But all in all, is what it is. Offensively, like
but
you said,
let me ask you, can we? I think we probably do need to go on. It's good. It's the raw emotions coming out. We should get on to our awards. But if I can, maybe this would be a good way to wrap it up. Do you have any other key points you want to make?
No, go ahead.
Okay. If I told you before the game, this was going to be the outcome, how would you have felt?
You can't be mad at it. You can't be mad at it. And that's
Can't
what we
be
said.
mad.
I said earlier, as close to a moral victory as you can get in the NFL. At the end of the day, the biggest takeaway, I think the takeaway that's going to have the impact on the team the most, the impact on the franchise and the fan base the most, is look at the boy Sammy Howell. He did his job today. Dotson drops that pass over the middle for a key third down. Maybe at that point, like 6 minutes left in the fourth, maybe you drive down, get a score, win the game. You can't catch it for him, right? Howell did everything he needed to do, and that's why, to transition into our awards today, he
Can
gets
I say one more thing?
Oh, sure.
Can I say one more thing?
Kill
I
me on the
think you
drop there,
walk
but go
away
ahead.
from this game. I'm sorry. I know I hit you, but I just want one more thing.
Had the money segue into the awards, but
You
go ahead.
did, but I want to get this in. I'm sorry.
Get it in.
You walk away from this game. Everything's in front of us. Playing the way we played today, there's no reason to believe that we shouldn't have everything in front of us for the rest of this season, especially with the stretch of games coming up. So I think there's a lot more reason to feel positive than anything else coming out of this game. And I think the defense is talented enough where they'll be able to perform a lot better than what we saw, especially against teams that are nowhere near as talented and as good as the Eagles.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's like what you said. If you can play that good against Philly, the bar is raised, right? The standard is higher, and I think we can. You look at some of the games further down the schedule, like New England and Seattle, against teams that are solid, that you said maybe were coin flips at the beginning of the game. You put out that performance against those teams, you win the game. So,
yeah,
like you said, everything's in front of us. At the end of the day, we're exactly where we thought we'd be, 2-2, headed into a short week. Going to play Chicago. It's tough having that short week coming back from Philly now after that overtime. But you got to bounce back. You got Chicago at home. They're a bad team, but capable. We'll see. And in general, let's get on to our awards. I already kind of spoiled
we got to
our
get going.
first award here. We got to get moving here. But Sauce Award has got to go to Sam Howell. Definitely the glimmer of hope for the boys there. I think in general, it's really cool to see him bounce back. Today was a really complete 4-quarter great performance from him, in my opinion. Made some off-schedule throws to keep the drives moving, made some good plays with his legs, scored
great plays with his
couple
legs.
touchdown passes. I mean, that pass to Dotson, the pass to Curtis Samuel was a little ill-advised, but the pass to Dotson for that touchdown at the end of the game that's as money of a throw as you could get. It was just a great throw there. He's really exciting a lot of fight, a lot of grit, and he's a guy that I think everybody's going to be rooting for. And you did see some growth week to week from last week to this week. And he's getting the ball out. He did take some sacks, but I think the situations where he took sacks, there was really no other option. He was kind of screwed. He never had a
for the
chance,
most part.
at least for a couple of those. I have to go back and watch every one. But there were a lot of plays that I think would have been sacks last week or the week before where he did not take sacks. He was climbing the pocket. He was staying active. He did a really good job overall. You got anything you want to say about the boy Sammy Pop?
Said it already. Agree
All
with
right.
everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Helmet stickers got to go on to the Philly killer, the boy Terry McLaurin. Always shows up against the Eagles, had a lot of key plays.
Should have been 9 catches.
Yeah,
It
should have
was
been
8.
9,
Should have
but
been 9.
8 catches, was very active, was doing his thing. Just a great player overall. I don't know why we went away from him for that little stretch. I don't know why we keep going away from him. Let's keep it moving. You notice how when Terry gets his name called, it's always for a good thing, right? He falls on
Well,
that ball
you said
in the end
four
zone.
four four great quarters, but I think one of the if you were gonna name a turning point in the game, it's we did get dominated in the third.
Yeah.
Hell of a bounce back in the fourth, like heck of a bounce back. But yeah, I mean T Mac with 8 catches, 86 yards, just a heck of a game and this close to keeping that overtime drive going.
Yeah.
He's just a baller, and even diving on that ball, I'm not sure he needed to rip it out of Shadiq's hands. Shadiq was going to get the glory. I think it was Shadiq
Yeah, it
that
was
dove on the
Sadiq
ball,
Charles, yeah.
but he's under the pile, doesn't really know who he's fighting with over it, and he made sure he got that ball, and
Yep.
that was amazing. Well deserved helmet sticker from Terry. And if
Yeah,
anybody
100.
ever doubted who our best receiver is, I don't know that there's a whole lot of doubt about that at this time.
Dog.
Yeah.
Let's feed him. Let's keep feeding him. Need to get the ball to him more. That should be like the first instinct, like you said, in the third quarter when we're getting dominated. The first thing to kind of get the offense going again should be let's get the ball to Terry. Let's draw up some stuff
Yeah.
for Terry. Let's draw up some short stuff. Get the ball to Terry. Just get the chains moving. And that's a thing that I think, we saw how Heineke developed that chemistry with Terry and how things changed when Heineke came in last year. I think the more Sam plays with Terry, hopefully we'll see that same fondness kind of take over, and we're already seeing that bond create itself. Second helmet sticker got to go to Curtis Samuel. I think he played a really good game, and in general was just he's a weapon that we understate. He had that touchdown at the beginning of the game. That was a sweet play call from Bieniemy there on that opening drive for that Curtis Samuel touchdown. Really like seeing that creativity there. Want to see more of that in the red zone. Frankly, I don't know why that's not the go-to down there. He's so good at that kind of stuff. Make it happen. If you feel weird about handing the ball off on, first and goal with 1.5 yards to go, do something like that. Like why? That's great. And in general, Samuel just played a good game. He was getting open. I think that's got to be somewhere we're looking to exploit matchups going forward. Because Curtis Samuel, he's not a number one wide receiver by any means, but really talented player and a good wide receiver. You got to bet he's better than a lot of teams' third cornerbacks, right?
Well, the thing is, I think we kind of, this isn't any dig on Jahan. I still believe in Jahan, and I think he's got great days ahead. But I think we
Great
kind of
touchdown catch at the end, right?
Great touchdown catch on that drop. That was a pivotal moment in the game.
That's a game
Talk
changing
about
drop.
third quarter. Where we needed to kind of get something going, and
That was
that was
fourth quarter.
Was it fourth?
That was the drive before Philly got the ball back to ice it, and then didn't end up icing it because Sirianni decided to make the double move. But have the opportunity to win that game if he catches that ball.
There you go. Okay, your memory is always better than mine. I'll trust you there. But
I got
but I guess the positives, keeping it positive, right? Curtis, I think, is still our second best wide receiver until Jahan proves different. And
I agree.
This year he has been our second best wide receiver. He's really contributed. He's done some stuff in the run game too. He's had sure hands. I think he's the injury thing kind of got us all a bit concerned, but he's a much better player than I think we even give him credit for, and definitely deserving 7 catches, big contributor in this game. Definitely deserves a helmet sticker for sure.
Yep, I fully agree, and I think you want to give that third one to Cam Curl, right, Pop? Just the tackle
I mean,
number
12
and the plays
tackles,
he's
led the
making.
team in tackles, had a sack, bunch of solo tackles out there.
Yeah.
Little hard to give anything to the defense, but I was kind of looking at the offensive players. Maybe we could have gone Jahan for that touchdown catch, but didn't feel like he had a great game. You're going to give it to anybody on the defense. I think it's Cam.
Yeah. Would love to give it to Brian Robinson if we could get him a little bit more involved, but we'll figure that one out. It's all good.
That
Brian
fumble on the
Robinson
goal line was
fumble on the goal line was tough, but he makes
I
up
love
for it.
B-Rob. I'll say this.
Run.
You were all on him in the preseason. I needed to see more before I was ready to go there. I think I'm about to the point where I've seen enough. I think he's a hell of a player. I'm not sure he's in the right offense for his skill set, but I think he's going to still contribute a lot in some very crucial moments for sure.
Yeah, they need him over in Detroit. Just give him 32 carries and let him go away, and then you can bench him in fantasy. It would be perfect. But had to get that one in there. Kickouts of the game. We've talked a lot about it. We'll try and keep it brief here, but it's got to be the defensive performance in general.
Yeah.
And to zero in on it for me, it's got to be the defensive play calling and the scheming. I think we're seeing from Del Rio what we've seen every year, frankly. The defense comes out bad at the beginning of the year, every single year, time in and time again. It's been 4 years of that now. And on top of that, he doesn't game plan. He just doesn't. This is Jack Del Rio. He comes out.
I'm sure he does.
I don't see it. I see the same thing every week. He comes out. He plays the corner soft. He doesn't. I mean, I don't know how you have. People are going to shred Emmanuel Forbes for his performance, and it's totally fair to. Like, the numbers are what the numbers are. We saw what we saw, right? It's not like he had a pick 6 to make up for it. But at a certain point, somebody's got to be the adult in the room and say, hey, let's put 6'2" big dude Benjamin St. Juste on.
I don't think anybody stops AJ Brown.
Let's put
today.
Kendall Fuller on AJ Brown. Why is the rookie who is 160 pounds, frame of reference, I'm 150. Why is the rookie who's 160 pounds on AJ Brown, who is a massive wide receiver? He's a bit. That's
You're not 150.
Is that he's big?
I need to do a weight check on that.
That's his thing, is that he's big. It's the pasta in the bones, man. Italians are carrying our weight a little more than you think. But that's my problem there. I think in general that there's a reluctance to adjust. You could say he game plans fine. There's a reluctance to adjust from Jack Del Rio and move with the punches. I think in general, when we blitzed, Hurts did not look good under pressure at all. And he wasn't really breaking long runs, but we weren't sending heat until the end of the game when we blitzed.
Yeah. That was a great blitz call that forced intentional grounding. But no, I mean, I think, look, whatever it is, I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to definitely say that if the talent level is supposed to be what it is, I have no problem with you putting it on coaching. But this defense has been disappointing this year. And I wish I don't, you say, hey, you're almost rooting against them. I'm totally not. I'm just frustrated. And I do think they'll figure it out. I do think they'll start playing better. I think we've played 2 of the best teams in the league these last 2 weeks. People can't forget that. We've played 2 of the best teams these last 2 weeks. 1 week we got absolutely schwacked, but, we talked about, go back to the last pod, we gave our silver lining takes on the Bills game. This week we went toe-to-toe with the defending conference champion, and they're still got the crown. I know you want to give it to the 49ers, rightfully so, not picking on that. But they still got the crown until somebody takes it from them. And they're still
Yep.
the best team in the NFC right now. They're 4-0. And, we went toe
Just
to
because
toe with
San Fran
them.
hasn't played yet, they're the only 4-0 team. But
That's fair. I'm not going to argue with you about that. San Fran's a hell of a team. But, I'm more encouraged walking out of this game. Incredibly disappointed, just like you are, but more encouraged walking out of this game than anything else.
yeah,
But yeah, I think, generally overall defensive performance. I'll say this about Forbes. Young man has heart.
yeah,
He was battling his ass off.
100%.
And I
And he
think
has a short memory too.
He's gonna be just fine.
Yep.
And anybody taking shots at him, I already had my rant earlier in the game. Apologies for that. You're just ridiculous.
Yep.
You're just
I'm
ridiculous.
with you. I'm 100% with you. I just think coaching wise, let's put him on Devonta Smith.
You're right.
Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith's a great wide receiver.
But I mean, Benjamin St. Juice is probably not faring any better
Kendall
against
Fuller,
AJ Brown.
Benjamin St. Juice held Justin Jefferson to about half the yard.
AJ Brown, Devonta Smith cook us just about every time we play them. AJ Brown is as good as anyone in the league.
Duo in football, right? I mean, you can't at a certain point, but you got to do better at the end of the day. And I think just a loss is a loss. And unfortunately, we talked about it last week where we said they all count the same. Unfortunately, it's not like hockey where we get a point for going to overtime. This counts the same too. This counts the same as last week. But there is a lot of good to take away from here. We're excited about the future of Sam Howell. Short week headed into Chicago. So we'll see how that fares. And I think we're going to circle back with you guys after that one, right? Yeah.
We'll have a pregame. We'll have a pregame. Postgame is going to be – we're just going to do our usual Monday morning
there you go.
drop. So we'll have a couple of days to kind of let that Chicago game sink in. Hopefully
there's not much to sink in there.
But we're gonna stick to our regular schedule at this time. But yeah. I mean, I think not much more to say, son. Really.
Yeah. Hey, we're on to Chicago. One of the worst.
I will say, I know we usually do a little bit of a check-in around the league. We'll save that. We'll save that for the midweek pod.
There you go.
But it's a hell of a kick in the Polinas when you not only lose a game like that, but that A.J. Brown is on the fantasy team you're playing against, and they absolutely crush you in the game for a big reason. Also had Josh Allen.
That's tough.
I also made a fatal flaw. Help me remember the running back's name, son.
David Montgomery.
I've been trying to block it out, but I left David Montgomery on the bench. Wasn't sure he was completely healthy yet. Yeah. I'm getting crushed. Congrats on the win for my opponent, but not good. Doing good on the Bottas. 3-0 on Bottas so far. Happy about that. But we'll recap that all on. Maybe we drop Wednesday morning instead of Thursday this week. We'll see if we can get it together.
We'll see where the wind takes us, right? But let's wrap this thing up, man. This is it's a tough week, guys. Go do whatever you need to do. Get your head right. Let's hit this week strong.
So therapy, it's group therapy, right? It's
group therapy, yeah.
Dog pop therapy, group therapy.
I like it. We're all in this together. Again, tough loss, but nice. A lot of nice stuff to take away from that. So excited for the rest of the season. We'll be back for you guys for that Chicago game. We have much higher spirits, I think, by then. But without further ado, I say we wrap this thing up. I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for having me here, weekend.